Hello and welcome to Nitro Talk with Todd. In a future episode, we're going to be looking at this OS RG21 engine. Maybe when we discuss this, we'll talk about bolt-on exhaust adapters. In another future episode, we'll be taking a look and discussing this Serio 30 big block, monster block engine, which has what I would say is one of the worst carburetors ever made, this Serio big block carb, and they put this on a lot of engines. All the Calari big blocks have this, not their race 21s. Their race 21s have a much better carb. But today, we're going to take a look at this bad mofo. It should be pretty recognizable for anyone who is big into nitro engines. This is a Rossi Black Magic. You gotta love it just on name alone. I mean, come on. Rossi also made the Golden Arrow. They made the Maranello engine, which has a red crankcase. This has a black crankcase. I always wanted one of those Maranello red crankcase engines, although it is an on-road engine and I mainly collect off-road stuff. I would love to have one of those Maranello red block engines. So we're going to take this apart. We're going to take a peek at it. This is an older engine. These were made, I believe, somewhere probably between 95 and 2000, if I had to guess. In their day, they were certainly a very competitive engine. They were very expensive, certainly not a cheap engine. It's not a turbo head. It has a standard glow plug. This particular engine has a little bit of life left, not a whole lot. I've retired this engine. I never really ran it. I did run it for a while just for the nostalgia, and I wanted to check it out. It does scream. Great top end on this engine. Another thing about this engine is it has an angled exhaust port. You see how the exhaust port is angled down slightly? If you look at a regular engine, it comes out straight. But this, and there were other engines, it's kind of angled slightly down. All I did was take an exhaust header and just give it a little bend. See how that's kind of bent? To where when you put that on downward, now the exhaust can be straight coming off of there with that angled exhaust port. So I have the piston up. Let me go ahead and remove the back plate here. And let's see if this sleeve is going to come right out. Oh. And I try to keep, when I put up an engine, I clean it thoroughly and oil it before I put it up, so it'll keep. Go ahead and take this carb. This does have an insulator on the carb, but it's kind of odd. It's almost looks kind of like leather almost. But anyway, so one thing about this engine is it has an odd rear bearing. Most rear bearings are 6 millimeters wide. This one is 5 millimeters wide, so it's kind of hard to find. Standard front bearing. So let's take a look. Now, in its day, this looks pretty chunky. It's got one nice cut there. It's opened up pretty big, and we got a cut there. But other than that, it's pretty blocky. But in its day, back in the early 2000s, late 90s, this was very nice, and of course the work is very nice. Let's take a peek at that sleeve real quick, and as you can see, the cuts are very nice. You got a big cutout under the intake port there. Looks like a fairly small exhaust port there, kind of short. It does have a 6-bolt head on it. Like I said, standard plug. O-ring on the back plate. The carburetor on this did work well when I used it. I didn't have any issues with it. I think it does. I believe there's Venturis for it. It doesn't have a step down in there. It looks pretty smooth, like it's Venturi'd itself. So maybe it doesn't have Venturis. Looks to be about a 9mm carb there. It is pretty good size. And of course, that classic Rossi shape for the head. These were awesome engines. These were really cool. They're vintage, older stuff now. Look at that domed piston. A lot of high-end stuff for an engine this early. But it's something cool to hold on to. It's a classic, and that is the Rossi Black Magic. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.